Welcome to Cool Schools. I'm Bob Driscoll. This is the only show in Central New York dedicated just to our schools. Today we've got an important topic, how parents can help with students in school, help with their homework, things like that. We're joined now by Patricia Frazier. She is from the New York State PTA. She is the president of that. Thank you very much for joining us.
And thank you for having me today.
Important topic, a lot to go through over the course of this show. First of all, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. I have been elected the New York State PTA president in November of 2024 for a 2-year term. So I'm almost probably 2/3 of the way through. I came to the New York State PTA president by way of being the treasurer for 4 years. So I have a pretty good experience at the statewide level of how the PTA operates, both as an educational advocacy organization and as a nonprofit. I've been involved in PTA since my oldest daughter started kindergarten in 1996, so I'm just coming up on my 30th year. And I'm currently residing with my family outside of the city of Buffalo.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about I reached out to you through the National PTA, but you're with the New York State PTA. Can you tell us a little bit about those organizations and
Sure.
what you offer?
Yes, I especially love talking about the history and where we come from with National PTA because actually National PTA, which has been around officially since February of 1897, actually has its roots in the state of New York. So one of our founders attended a parent institute at the Chautauqua Institute in the summer of 1895, where she first spread the idea of forming parent groups to support children that eventually became the National PTA. So 2 years prior, we were already ready to go here in New York State. And so New York State was the first Congress of National PTA. So each one of our states bears that name of Congress, and it was kind of brought around that we use the terminology Congress because, as you can imagine, in the early stages of PTA, it was mostly women-led. And at that time, women didn't even have the right to vote. And so in order to set our organization going forward, we decided we would start our own Congress, so to work on behalf of families. So that's how it all got started with National PTA. And I'm happy to say for all of the viewers in the Syracuse area, the first convention that we held in New York State for PTA in 1897 was held in Syracuse. We held our 125th convention there, and we'll be back there next year for our 130th.
That's awesome. And we'll dig more into the PTA and how people can get involved throughout this program. But I kind of want to start by getting into some of the issues that parents might face with their kids in school, ways that they can help, things like that. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges parents or students face right now when it comes to education?
I think that it's new topics that are actually the same topics over many years. They just kind of change a little bit in their the way they come across. So for instance, social and emotional learning has been a concept of New York State PTA since the 1920s. But each time, as the generations move forward, as technology advances, it just changes the way the look of how we can reach out to our students and how we can connect better with them has changed over the years. And so that's one of the key things that we believe is important for our students, is for them to have a level of connection to school. So we want them to be connected to school, connected to the classroom, connected to their teachers and the staff that they meet up with every day so that they enjoy and want to be learning so that they can continue all the way through till graduation.
Kids get home and it comes time for that dreaded homework and say they're struggling with it and parents want to kind of help them. How much should parents help without doing the assignments for them? Like, what's your best advice to parents there?
I think for parents, the number one thing for homework is to establish the place that homework will take place. Each child learns differently and has a comfort level of doing work in a different setting. So once you establish that with your child, that this is the place, or your student, that they'll be doing their homework, that's always a good start. And then also timing. I know I have 3 children of my own, and some of them felt more comfortable doing their homework right after school. Some like to wait till after dinner. So as long as they were able to get the work done, establishing those kinds of routines are really helpful for the parents. And the parents can be nearby, offer to help, but not necessarily have to be sitting and doing the homework along with the students.
You brought up the setting aside a certain time, and that was kind of going to lead me to my next question. Should you be like, after dinner, always do your homework, and regardless of what's happening, they always have a set time of night that they do their homework, or just give them a little bit of freedom to do it on their own as long as they get it done? What do you think's best?
So I think the school day has varied so much, and certainly in modern times it varies. So a lot of our students are coming home from school until almost dinner time, either because they're in an after-school care program while their parents are working, or their guardians or family members that are working with them are either working or they're involved in after-school activities. So it's a matter of just setting that up as to when it is best for the child, but certainly after having a meal is always a good time to then sort of settle in and get the brain going.
What about some tips or tricks or advice for maybe if a student resists doing the homework, or parents need to kind of push them a little bit to want to do it? Is there anything that parents can do to make it less of a chore for them?
I think, for the child and the student's mind, sometimes after they've been in school all day, going through and sitting hours on end doing homework is not always the best plan. So maybe setting up kind of one of those guidelines where we're going to work on homework for 10 minutes, the timer's going, and in 10 minutes we'll take a little break. That kind of opportunity can be helpful to students. Also, again, making sure that they have, water, maybe a snack if needed, especially after school, some kind of refreshment, also can be helpful with the homework. And then again, just asking the question about the homework, how it related to what they did in the school that day, so that they can continue on that thought process that might have generated at school, and they can continue with that.
There's a lot of different things that can go into a child's success in school, and beyond homework. What are some other things, some other habits that parents can help children get into to help them succeed academically?
I think that listening is important, and it's an important skill for both the parents and students to have. So I think though one of those things, coming to school with an open mind and being ready to learn is always good. Um, I also want to talk about literacy a little bit, and I think you know, engaging in literacy activities at home are also things that can also mirror then the work that's being done at school. So we do encourage our families to engage in reading activities together, or just reading together at the same time, so that that process for the mind works that way. Because again, a lot of the work that's going to be done in the school day is reading based, and so that to succeed with that, a love of reading is important.
Yeah, reading does play a major role in education, right? Like I remember, I want to say it was kindergarten or first grade. There'd be like the little reading cards, and it was like they had fun ways of challenging you to start getting involved. I know it was simple reading, and you kind of built from that. But how important is reading, and at what age should reading become like a focus of trying to help students learn?
So universal pre-K is something that has been in existence in New York State for quite some time. We've used that term universal pre-K, but it has not necessarily been universal. But many of our students have the ability to take advantage of pre-K. Currently, New York State PTA is advocating, along with some of our education partners, to really expand universal pre-K to actually mean universal and be available. And I think Governor Hochul is ready to help us move that forward. So that's really good news. So really starting in those habits prior to even getting into the education system at kindergarten is a great time to start with the reading.
Now there are different challenges parents face or students face at different grade levels. What are some strategies parents can use at different grade levels? Like, do you take one approach in kindergarten, first grade versus high school? Is there kind of a set standard for that, or is it just kind of see how your kid does?
I think that our children change through the years, but one thing that I do want to just briefly touch on, because this is also something that is happening within New York State PTA, and we're working again with our education partners. and the state education department to kind of bring this around is really to start when your child is early on in kindergarten and first grade to really kind of mirror or to monitor their reading habits and how they are doing. We are recognizing that 1 in 5 of our students suffer from some form of dyslexia or dysgraphia. And so that's one of the things that can inhibit learning and can inhibit a good educational experience for a lot of our students. So that's one of the things that we're working on is to make sure that if we can have the students being monitored, if possible, screened to make sure that they have everything in place that they need to be able to be open to reading is important. And so we're working with trying to secure the funding that has been for a dyslexia and dysgraphia center at the New York State Education Department. It has been passed by Governor Hochul that we will establish this. We're just hoping to help the State Education Department obtain the funding that we need for that. So again, making sure that your student has everything that they need, the tools, whether they're obvious to the parent or may need, like I said, the help of some screening is a great way to get started. And then also, as always, working with the teacher to just kind of monitor your child's progress, check in with the teacher to see how your child is doing and are they exhibiting any issues with reading and what the parents can do at home, and as well as anything that can be happening in the classroom.
Yeah, I noticed on the National PTA website, there's a lot of resources for parents on there. Some of the stuff you just mentioned, like the grade by grade breakdown of what parents can expect and do, and resources that are available. Some of those things will point out if a kid's struggling, what you can do. What are some warning signs maybe that parents can look out for? Like, okay, maybe I need to get more involved, or maybe my kid's struggling a little bit. What are some warning signs that a kid might be falling behind academically?
I think, a reluctance to complete their assignments, things that your student might have maybe been interested in the past, but they don't seem to be as interested now because they maybe need help moving forward, can always be good things to look out for. Again, communication with the teacher, and not just the home-based teacher, but maybe some of the other teachers as well. As our kids get older, they're rotating among teachers, and so that's always a good thing to make sure that you're connecting with all of the different teachers that your student might be meeting with throughout the day. And thank you for mentioning the National PTA website as well as the New York State PTA website. Our two organizations as a whole are here really to be a resource to our local families, our local PTA units. In New York State, we have over 1,500 PTA units throughout the state, most affiliated with the school building. But really, we're here again to support them in the work that they're doing in reaching out to their families, and the same for National PTA. So the idea that we have resources available 24/7 is a wonderful opportunity for all of our families, whether you're a PTA family or not. Our websites are not. There's no gatekeeping there. If you want to access the resources there as a parent, it's open to all.
And I noticed on one of those websites, it broke down some subjects and what kids might learn in different grades. And one of the subjects I always struggled with in school was math. And I would be that parent that would not be able to help my kid with math because, I barely got through it. If a subject like math, where maybe the parent isn't great at it like I would be, how can they help a student struggling with math? Is it getting a tutor involved? Is it getting maybe a sibling involved? Like, what's the best way to help?
I was also going to suggest if there's an older sibling, sometimes that's the best choice because, our schools sometimes are always changing their methods of teaching math. So, if somebody who's just been through it recently, it might be a great choice. Sometimes we have our high school students with our lower grade students that the high school students are reaching out as a service opportunity for the younger students. So that's also another good place to try. Working together with your PTA to maybe establish, or your parent organization that might be in your building, to establish some kind of informal type learning experience for the parents. We used to have math night when I was a PTA president in our school with my children when they were growing up. We would have math night, and so the math teachers would come in and teach us how to do the math as a way to be helpful at home as well.
Yeah, and it's important, like with something like math, like fun ways to try and like educate yourself or your kids. Kind of make it not seem like a chore, like I was kind of hinting at earlier. Um, you mentioned learning spaces and setting up a learning space at home. Like, what do you mean by that? Is it like a kind of like an office for a kid, or just an environment that's distraction free? I mean, we know how easily they can get distracted, right?
I think that's, once you get to learn about your child and see them in action doing their homework, you can, easily come up with the plans that would work best for them. Some it might be obviously in quiet space with no other noise around. Some it could be that might need a little background noise, some low music or sorts of things to kind of, soothe them as they go through the work that they're doing. So again, I think checking in with your child and seeing how they're doing with what you've set up and making the tweaks that you need to make. Maybe some like to have like a little stress ball type, cushy little item with them so that they, helps them think and a little, it's not necessarily distraction, but kind of helps keep, that stress level at a low so that they can focus on their work is a good thing as well.
I will confess, I have one of those little stress balls on my desk here at work, so they do help. They do help. You
For
just
sure, for sure.
um, parent-teacher conferences. The communication between parents and teachers is obviously extremely important. Are there certain things parents should bring up when talking to the teacher, or how do you think those should go that would help?
Yeah, so the formal parent-teacher conference is changing quite a bit, and I think what we're realizing now is we can't just wait till that one meeting or that one meeting every semester. So we're really encouraging, and I think that the school districts are responding to that with various forms of communication. Special apps that the schools can use to communicate with the teachers or certain email systems and that type of way. Really, I think being honest and open with the teacher and reaching out whenever you can is really the best way to help interact and also to react to something that your child might be experiencing. So really it's the parents and again the ability of technology that we have that's 24/7. While we might be reaching out to a parent or to your teachers late at night, you don't really expect that answer, but know that the teacher's going to be able to review it the next day and hopefully get back with you. So I think that there's the opportunity with technology for more interactions to support your child and don't hesitate to use them.
That kind of leads me right into my next question. Technology, it's evolving. We've done a couple shows here on AI and what it means to classroom. Do you think AI or technology in general is beneficial and can help students, or do you think that it's slowing progress? I know that's a big debate out there right now.
It certainly isn't, and it really is a gray area at this point. There's as many good stories as you read about AI, there's detrimental ones as well. So what we really do appreciate is any school district doing the research. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in PTA is because we are an organized parent group, when school districts are setting up committees to do these types of research and want to involve parents, a lot of times the district comes right to the PTA and asks for, help. Can you help us appoint somebody to join that committee? So I think that, research and conversations about AI are so important right now. I don't know that it's something that we can formally bring into all of our classrooms right now. But again, the conversations need to start happening and probably have been happening for quite some time in many of our districts.
I believe you mentioned stress and or anxiety among students. Is there things that the New York State or National PTA can do to help guide parents when it comes to students and their stress?
Certainly, I think one of the biggest things, and this has been a conversation also for a long time, and it kind of ebbs and flows, but one of the things that we're really learning, especially in New York State with the recent distracted-free learning environments where cell phones, where the students are putting their cell phones away during the school day, is what we're learning is that connection, the human connection, has been so important. And that human connection is having a positive impact. It's really helping to reduce stress. and anxiety, and really making school a more open place for our students. And so taking that lesson that we've learned, like in the idea that students are actually talking to each other around the lunch table as adults would be doing. So again, preparing themselves for the world beyond school, asking to have board games and puzzles and that type of thing at the lunch table rather than, everybody focused on a screen. We're really taking those lessons and reminding ourselves that that's, unstructured time for our children, no matter what age they are, is important. And just at our last convention here, that was held in Niagara Falls in November, all of our delegates unanimously voted that we will continue to advocate for the importance of recess or 20 minutes of unstructured time for our students in the school day so that they can kind of regroup and, again, make the connections with each other, person to person.
It's amazing when the cell phone ban was first announced that I think every school district was expecting Armageddon, but every district I've talked to, they say it's going well, and students are kind of saying the same thing you just did. Like, it's nice to kind of get to know know your fellow students and talk to them. And I was always a big fan of recess too, so you can't let that slide. Like, those things help balance out the day. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the PTA, so you can let people know what resources are out there if they want to get involved. Can you tell us a little bit about the things that New York State PTA has to offer?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have about 1,500 PTA units across the state that are each an independent 501(c)(3), as well as being a parent and educational advocacy organization. So what we're asking of our PTA units is really to focus on our mission. So as a nonprofit, so our PTA mission is PTA is a powerful voice for all children, a relevant resource for families and communities, and a strong advocate for the education and well-being of every child. And so really that's the focus of what we want our PTAs to do. And we realize that that is a task, beyond what some people might perceive of a parent group, which is fundraising to help support something at the school. So we ask our PTAs to go a little beyond that. And in doing so, we recognize that they need support. And that's really where we are. So each of our PTAs has, by the nonprofit status and fiduciary responsibility that they have a structure of officers and bylaws, and they have a board of directors that helps maintain the order of the association that they're running, in addition to having all those fun family nights and movie night and social activities and fundraisers to help with field trips and other things at the school. So in order to do that and to maintain that, we actually have a structure. We have 12 regions across the state that have a similar structure, officers and chair people and boards. And as well, we have that at the state. And the whole reason for that is for us to be able to sustain our association. So the New York State PTA mirrors all of that. We are the main place for resources to help support the activities, to share ideas, to inform, to inspire, to help the organizations locally sustain themselves so that they can continue on doing the great work without having to worry about who's going to help with the volunteering, how they're going to raise their funds. We have the support that they need at the state level, and national mirrors the same as well, to do that work. In addition, we are an advocacy association, and so we have a presence in Albany and we have a presence in Washington, D.C., working with our legislators to, advance our mission. We, as a state, we have about 40 people that will be in Albany next week for our annual lobby day. We'll be meeting personally with our legislators. We also have trained our local leaders to meet locally with their legislators to advance the things that we believe are important for our students and families in the education world. And then following that, where some of us are going to head right down to Washington to continue on that advocacy with our national legislators there. So we really are a support system. We're open. We're all volunteers for the most part. We maintain a small office in Albany, led by our executive director, who is truly available almost 24/7 to answer questions, to help with any issues that might come up, or suggestions that are needed to help our PTA units succeed and move forward.
It seems like you have a pretty packed schedule. I mean, there's events and stuff too that members can take part in, right?
Exactly, yes. So at the state level, we offer two main training times a year. In addition to our convention, we have our summer leadership conference that is open to all of our PTA volunteers to come. And we offer a series of workshops as well as the workshops that we offer at our convention for training ideas, again, different ways to run their PTA, involvement on the issues. And of course, with the technology of today, we are offering webinars via Zoom on a monthly basis. We have 2 or 3 a month of different topics that are of interest to our units. And the same happens at the national level as well. They have a series of training courses that our leaders can take anytime, again, at their leisure, either by themselves or with a group on a particular topic to help strengthen their PTA. So we do have a lot going on. And of course, our regions locally, we have, as I said, we have 12 of them. They are also offering training both live for, close by for people to take part in person or also via the internet.
If people want to join the New York State PTA, how do they join? Where can they go to get more info? Things like that they can need if they want to jump in right now?
Sure. So one thing about joining the New York State PTA is when you join the New York State PTA locally, you join the local unit, you join the New York State PTA, and you join the national PTA all at one time. And so most of our schools at the beginning of the school years, most of our units that are housed in schools will have an open house, and the PTA is granted a table space there to, meet the parents. That's how I became a member of PTA. I always love to tell that story of how my husband and I got in line thinking we were signing in to come to the open house. And it turns out we were in line to sign up for the PTA. And so by the time we got to the front, we kind of felt like, well, we're here, so we're signing up. And I love also to tell the story that when we were headed to open house, my mom said to me that whatever you do, don't join the PTA. And so unfortunately, like I said, we got in the wrong line. So here we are 30 years later, still very much a PTA family and proud of that. So online, you can join us at www.nyspta.org. Just click on the join button. You can find a local unit that you're interested in joining to support. And it's important that we have support beyond the parents and families of a school building. We really need the full community support. We welcome the community to support the work that we're doing because supporting our students supports them in their life after school and makes every community stronger. So we encourage that. And we also have some of our districts, PTAs have a special education focused parent-teacher association. So that's a separate type of organization you can join that supports families of children that have special needs or exceptional educational needs. And then additionally, we have just in the last several years chartered a statewide New York State PTA Pride PTSA, and several of our districts, again, PTAs and districts across the state have established a Pride PTSA unit to support the students in their community and families that are involved in the LGBTQ plus community. So we have lots of opportunities for people to show their support. We would love it if every family joined their PTAs in the school buildings where their children are. Our tagline is every child, one voice, and we would like to have one voice for every child in New York State. So that's something that we aspire to.
All right, Patricia Frazier, president of the New York State PTA. Thank you much for joining us about this important conversation and the resources the PTA has to offer.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you're doing on behalf of education. The more voices we have out there, of course, the better. So thank you.
Thank you again. And if something's happening in your school, you can always email me at coolschools@localsyr.com.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.